Hi everyone, welcome to the Chief Challenge. This week we're working on the kitchen island, round the island. This is going to be a challenge to get done in 10 minutes. Let's talk about the process and the strategy. I'm first going to place a cabinet. I'm going to set the default settings. I'm going to change the hardware. I'm going to remove the countertop, set the door as a slab. And I'm going to move on and place all the cabinets, configure the face items. Then I'm going to create the custom countertop, and then I'm going to create the shaped custom countertop with the circle and then the river swoop that goes in there. So with that said, let me switch over here and get ready to start the program. You're going to notice that in the lower right hand section of my menu I have the timer, and as we get ready to start I'll click on the timer and then we'll begin a new plan. So let's start the timer. Let's do a new plan. First thing I'm going to do is grab the cabinet tool, click and place. Use the camera, and I'm going to hold my Alt key down to generate a vector view, and then let's go ahead and make these modifications to the project. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the catalog we've provided for the Chief Challenge. Let's come over to the island, and I want to grab the hardware. Notice that my scoping mode is in object mode. I'm going to go ahead and place that in object mode. Let's open up the cabinet, and inside the cabinet let's begin on the general panel. I'm going to remove the countertop, change the height since it includes the countertop height. That's going to make it 34.5 inches. And then on the door and drawer, I want to change that to be a slab. And since we have larger hardware, let's go ahead and move that down maybe 5 inches or so. That looks pretty good. I'm going to set that as my default, and now we're ready to go. Let's begin by sliding a copy of this cabinet over. Use the copy tool, slide this over. I'm going to go ahead and bump it up. That allows me to come over here and reshape that to 21 inches. Leave that at 24. Make a copy of that, slide him over. And I want this as my sink cabinet to be 36 inches. Make a copy of this, slide it over. And I want to make sure that bumps exactly. So let's just pull it over, make sure that it bumps. I'm going to set this one to 21 inches. And then one more copy. Let's go ahead and slide that over to the very end. Bump it up. And now what I'm going to do is select both the end cabinets, open them up, and on the face item, I'm going to change that from a door to a drawer, split that horizontally. On the sink cabinet, let's go ahead and open that up. Click on the drawer, delete that, and then I'm going to tilt my view up slightly because I want to use that sink cabinet as my rear cabinet. We'll go back in and fix that at a later point. And then for the pull out, let's go ahead and remove the drawer, so delete that, and let's actually change that back to a drawer in this case. So make it a drawer. I need to adjust the hardware, so let's go back over into the drawer hardware, and down at the vertical position, distance from top, let's go ahead and set that at 3 inches. And then the final thing is for the face item, I want to go into the appliance door drawer specify, browse out to the library. Again, we made this a little easier with our user catalog, the Chief Challenge, and there should be a waste pullout in there. And if we want to adjust that maybe 50% open, that way we can open it and kind of verify it in that view. Now the next thing, let's grab our dishwasher and our sink. Click on those cabinets. Let's rotate around, and for this cabinet in the back, this is going to probably be easier to do in the plan view. Let's make that 12 inches in width or depth. And let's go ahead and set it to be 30 inches. Let's slide it down until it snaps right at the end there. And then I'm going to set my multiple copy, if I did the math right, so I can copy that every 30 inches, and then we'll just slide a copy of that all the way down. And then we'll just kind of make that a little bit bigger at the very end. Now, one of the things I could do actually is maybe make that 18 inches. That way I can set that to be 30 inches all the way around. Now let's create the custom countertop. Let's go into the custom countertop tool. We'll pick up the snap, pull that over, snap onto the top of the cabinets, and then I'm going to hold the letter C down. I'm going to concentrically resize this, press the tab key as I'm doing it, and I want a 1.5 inch overhang. So I'm going to use that 1.5 inches, and now I have that exact for the countertop overhang. And if we look at this in 3D, you can kind of see what we've got going on. And on the side on the left, let's go ahead and click on the countertop, and I'm going to use the make waterfall option. So to create the circle and the shape, I'm going to go into the floor plan view. I'm going to use the line tool, and I'm going to create a couple of CAD lines in here. So let's just pick up the edge of the island. We'll draw another one over in this area, and then one more over in this area. I like to use these guidelines, and let's just make these slightly different colors so we know exactly what we're going with. So I'm going to just change that to a pink, and then we'll also change the line style slightly. So now that I've got these guidelines, it looks like I missed that one, so let's just use our object eyedropper and apply that in there. I'm going to use the circle tool, specifically circle about a point. Come in here, again, I'm going to press the tab key, and when this opens up, let's go ahead and make that a polar distance, and we'll set it to be 30 inches. In that case, that should be 60 inches. Then I'm going to select the circle. I'm going to use the point-to-point move, zoom in, and let's go ahead and pull that circle right up into that area. And then if you look at the diagram, this diagram here should be, according to that, 10.25 inches. So let's put that 10.25 inches. So now I know where the mark is. I'm going to use the CAD rectangle tool. We'll pick up the snap right in this area. We'll pull it over to the edge of the waterfall. Before I release, I'm going to press the tab key, uncheck polar, and the dimension that I want for that countertop is 18 inches. So now that I've got the shape for this river swoop, I'm going to use the break command. We'll pick up the midpoint, create the breaks in there, and then I'm just going to kind of go through and create the shapes. So let's click on each one of these. We'll use the shape tool, click on the shape, click on the shape, and then let's go ahead and pull this one down. I'm going to use the arrow tool. We'll pull this one up. Then a little bit of busy work's involved here. Let's go ahead and go around, and each selected arc, I'm going to lock the cord, and I'm going to set the radius at 48 inches. So again, I'm going to repeat that 3 more times. The cord is locked, 48 inches, and cord is locked, 48 inches. And then one final one, we'll set that at 48 inches. And then let's go ahead and zoom in to this area right here. I need to trim this off. I'm going to use the brake tool. I'm going to pull this over, snap it in. See the red selected line. Let's convert that to an arc. And now I'm going to pull that in there. So let's pause for just a second. I've got a little over 2.5 minutes. What I've done here, first of all, you notice the CAD guidelines that I have set up. CAD guidelines can be a really helpful tool whether you're trying to align things or lay things out. I create a layer called CAD guidelines, and I put that in my template plan, and I have access to it, and I'll turn it on maybe in a working view or another view, and it just helps lay out the design that you're going to do or the objects you're going to create. Very helpful in creating this layout for the island. So if you download one of our sample plans, you can take a look. I'll pull it up here on the screen. Here's a view with several CAD guidelines, and it just makes the design process easy. So consider using that when you're doing your design work. Okay, so let's go back in. I need to go through and convert the shape we've drawn here to a custom island, maybe look at placing the fixture and any other items. So before we get started, let's make sure we turn the clock back on. Now, first thing I'm going to do is select both of these shapes, and then I'm going to use this convert tool to a custom countertop. And I want to come in and let's change the thickness here to 4 inches, and we'll set the height 34.5 inches floor to bottom. And then let's go back into our 3D view and see what we've got going on so far. Let's use our material painter. Let's pick up the material in plan mode, apply it to all the cabinets, and then in object mode we'll apply it over here. Now the next thing I need to do is place the sink faucet, and we should be able to do that. Let's grab our sink faucet, place that over here, and actually I grabbed the sink, so let's grab the sink faucet. And back in our 3D view, a couple things. You notice you don't see the echelon on the bottom of the sink, so let's go ahead, or the faucet, let's go ahead and open up that faucet. And the floor to bottom came in at 34.5 inches, the cabinet height. Let's set that to 36 inches. And then you see a little bit of the cabinet underneath the sink. Let's go ahead and grab that sink. I'm going to use the open symbol, and that's probably plus 1.5 inches to adjust the sink, and that looks pretty good. So again, let me pause this with just a little bit over a minute, and let's talk about what I just did here. If you followed the bathroom vanity, we actually created the cabinets and used those cabinets to generate a custom countertop. That required a few more steps. In this project, my cabinets did not have a countertop, and I drew it manually. In this case, that required me to deal with the overhang that I put on here for 1.5 inches, you see in the waterfall that we did. But what didn't work as conveniently or automatically was the sink height and the faucet height. It was looking for the cabinet. My cabinets are 34.5 inches, and it didn't account for the thickness of the countertop, 1.5 inches. So I modified those items to move them up that depth. So slightly different issues with using cabinets without countertops and then just manually drawing those. So let's go ahead and wrap this up. I'm going to turn on the clock one more time. Let's go back into our floor plan view. Let's use a brand new camera view tool. And one of the things that I like to do, let's grab our manufacturer catalog, scroll down into one of the manufacturers, and we'll just grab one of these materials, apply it on there. And then to make this a little more viewable, sometimes I like to put line drawing on top, and we'll just kind of slightly make this adjustment, and there we go. Round the island in under 10 minutes. So hope you had fun. If you participated, thanks a lot for participating in the Chief Challenge, and have a great day. We'll see you on the next challenge.
Well, I hope you had fun with the Chief Challenge, maybe learned a couple things. We're going to open it up here for live Q&A and take your questions. Just raise your hand, and then when we call on you, unmute your microphone and we'll take your live question. Following the Q&A period, we're going to announce the winners. If you're on the session and you were the winner, we'll give you the opportunity to unmute your microphone. You can share your strategy that you took and what it took to get the project done in 10 minutes and win the challenge. So with that, let's take your live questions, anything really to do about the project or cabinets, countertops that you may have seen. So with that, Carrie, do we have any questions?
Thanks, Scott. We do. Sydney wrote in and asked, how does the concentric resize work? For example, when you did the custom countertop.
Okay, sure. So when you do a concentric resize, and what I'm going to do here is let me just delete the custom countertop, switch this over to the working view. When I did the project here, there were no automatic countertops on, and when I used the concentric resize, let's just go in and snap on top of the cabinets. We'll draw this custom countertop. So now the custom countertop is exactly on top of the cabinets. And if you want a concentric, symmetric size all the way around, what I did was grab the countertop here and my cursor over the corner. As I get ready to pull that back, I press the letter C on my keyboard. It stands for concentric. It's a hotkey built in. And then you just pull it out. And if you press the tab key while you're doing it, you got to have extra fingers almost. make sure that polar is not marked, and then you can come in here and put the coordinates in. And if I wanted that exactly 1.5 inches, I'm going to put in exactly that in both coordinates, 1.5. If I can type here, let me undo that and grab that, pull it out, 1.5 and then minus 1.5. That will make that exact with that dimension. The other way you can do it is to change your default edit behavior. Let me just press undo so we get back to that. This, if you're going to be doing a lot of edits and they're always the same, inside of your preferences, underneath edit, is the option for your snap properties and specifically for the behaviors. The default behavior is typically to just move, but you can change it to a concentric. And if you change it to concentric, you can then type in the amount you want, 1.5 inches. Then when you click to do your edit, it will just move it that amount. So if you find yourself going to be doing a similar amount for whatever sort of design work you're doing, that may be an easier way to do it. You can always go back into your preferences, set that back to default behavior so you're not in that odd movement for resizing it. So a couple different ways you can concentrically resize. Remember the letter C. When you move over the corner, hold your mouse down, left click, and drag. And then again, if you wanted to press the tab key, you can be very specific. So I hope that helps.
Thank you, Scott. We had somebody write in, what if you want the shaped countertop on top to cut out the lower countertop? How did you do that?
Okay, yeah. So when you go out and you buy your slab, probably they don't want to cut this thing necessarily. You're still going to have to purchase your slab. But if you wanted to cut this out underneath here, there's the subtraction tool that you can use. So let's just take a look at that. Let's maybe move into a 3D view, and might be a little easier to peek at this here. So the first thing that, let me turn on line drawing so you can see the design a little easier. There we go. So to cut that out, what you can do, I'm going to grab these two and make a copy of it. Let's slide this back, a predetermined amount. So I'm just going to slide that back 60 inches. So now that I have a copy of this, I can select on the bigger countertop. You see the selection handle, it's underneath of that. If you wanted to subtract it, now that it's selected, there is a subtraction tool in the lower edit menu here, subtract. Then I'm going to click on the item that I want to subtract. The program then says, would you like to retain the original objects? Probably no need for that. So I'll go ahead and subtract it. And then same operation, larger countertop is selected. Do the subtraction, click on the round top countertop, say no to retain, and then I can simply move this back. I used a predetermined amount, 60 inches, so if I just kind of reverse that out 60 inches, I now have that cut out specifically. This can be, notice there are other tools down here for not only subtraction, but union and intersection that you can use. Are called Boolean operators, and sometimes helpful if you want to combine or subtract things like that. So that's the approach you can use to clean up that countertop if you wanted to cut it out.
Thank you. Jenny wrote in and asked, can you show how and why you raised the sink to eliminate the gap between the counter and the cabinet?
Yeah, so when we first placed that sink, it was looking for the top of the countertop. And if you, let me just place a sink off to the side here, or a cabinet off to the side. And let's resize that so it's big enough to take a sink. And then inside the library, let's grab that sink out of the Chief Challenge. There we go. Let's go back into our overview here. So when you have an automatic countertop, the sink goes in there, it has an offset in the symbol itself. In this case, it's typically the countertop thickness, 1.5 inches. Since in this project I didn't actually use the countertop, the sink was actually too low by the countertop thickness since I drew that independently. So all I did in that case was click on the sink itself, and you might have to press the tab key to actually get that selection. And then in the symbol, what I did was come down and I just typed in -1.5, and it then moved it up or moved it down, depending on if you use a negative or positive value. It will then move it up. You see the preview of it, and that will then change the offset. I also did that slightly differently with the floor to bottom on the faucet. I think it came in at 34.5 inches, and I had to adjust that so the floor to bottom was at 36 inches, the countertop itself, and not the cabinet at 34.5 inches. So that's just one of the side effects of either using automatic countertops or using a custom countertop. You've got a couple of issues either way you do it that you might have to do a little bit of cleanup on.
Okay, great. Our next question is from Andrew. Can you show the process of using the object painter to apply cabinet hardware?
Okay, so let me grab a slightly different view for that. I've got a plan open that's a little bit larger. Let's zoom in here. So in this case, for the upper wall cabinets, there's two pieces of hardware, and you can use the object painter to apply different sizes of hardware. And if I grab, let's see if we have all the hardware in here. I only have one. So let me scroll down and grab a smaller hardware, and I'll show you how the object painter works. Just grab this from one of my libraries here. There we go. Okay, so in this case, I have a long, medium, and short pole. And if you wanted a smaller piece of hardware, let's say on this upper cabinet face item, what I can do is I can click on the short pole, okay? And then in the scoping for this, which you'll see in the lower left-hand corner of my screen, I'm going to change that to component mode, which will mean face item mode. And then I'm going to click to apply that. Now, since this is a smaller piece of hardware, I'm going to need to go into that face item and probably lower the offset because that's maybe midpoint on the door. And then it will, be towards the bottom. But the scoping mode, let's switch back. Let's go ahead and put that back. Press the undo button. The scoping mode, if we do a search, and let's just do one that looks quite a bit different. Type in knob. There we go. Yeah. So in the scoping mode, if I change the scoping mode in this case for this knob, let's change it to object mode, and I click. Notice that I have to click when my cursor changes. I'll pause there for a second. It becomes a replacement icon. When I click to place it in object mode, it will then change it for all face items that have that exact same hardware. So it only works if it has the exact same hardware. It's going to swap it out. Again, probably need to open up the bottom face item here and adjust that to be lower if you wanted it to be towards the bottom of the door. There are other scoping modes. Let's say I switch it to plan mode. There's room mode, floor mode, and plan mode. Be careful about doing that because if you have multiple rooms, maybe a bathroom and a kitchen on the same floor, and you either use the floor or plan mode, it will change your hardware in all of those, and you may not notice it until maybe you open up that room later. But if I switch this into plan mode and I come in and do the replacement, it's going to swap out all like hardware for the entire project. So you see how not only the upper cabinets, but also the base cabinets got to change as well with that different hardware. Again, you might need to change the offset if you want that towards the bottom or the top of the cabinet. But this is a scoping mode that is nice when you're using the object painter to apply, in this case, the cabinet hardware. So I hope that helps.
Thank you, Scott. We have another question. Can you please
Okay.
repeat the process for installing the waste pullout?
Yeah, so in this project, you see we have a waste pullout. And what you end up doing with the waste pullout, if we kind of slide over here, let's open up this cabinet here and see if there's a waste pullout in there. So when you insert a waste pullout in the project or in a cabinet, that's done at the face item level. So if you open up this cabinet, click on the face item. In this case, for a waste pullout, you want to have it as a drawer. And when you click on the face item, there is a specific appliance door drawer specify option that would allow you to override, well, the door style, the hardware style, and also then towards the lower middle part of the dialog down here, go out to the library and insert items into your cabinets. So in this case, I'm using a Rev-A-Shelf product and using a specific waste pullout that you can see there. Once you then select it, that's how you get that waste pullout in there, right? And you can also change the percent open. If we make that a little bit bigger, you can see it in the preview and peek at it before you close the dialog. So that's the way you get those in there. It's important for the waste pullout that be a drawer. Otherwise, that face item may not look quite right when it gets inserted into that item.
Thanks, Scott. Looks like that's all the questions I have. Were there any others that you see?
Yeah, so if you participated in the Chief Challenge, I hope you had fun, maybe a couple of tips to pick up on. And before I announce the winner, I'm just going to mention that if you happen to be on the call and want to maybe raise your hand, unmute your microphone, then we'll give you a chance to share what your secret to success was. So let's take a peek at what we had for a couple of submissions. I'm going to start with a couple of honorable mentions. The first one that I have here is from Megan Dent from Michael's Designs out of Minnesota. Looks absolutely fantastic and seemed to hit all the criteria here for the island, and just wanted to do a shout out to Megan. And then next we had another honorable mention to Tim Sharrock of Design Build Solutions out of Indiana. Again, wow, really did a great job here. Nothing really to pick apart that I can see. Did a great job. Congratulations, Tim. And then for our winner, let's go ahead and take a peek at the winning solution here. So this came from Renee Rabbit, Rabbit Designs out of Oakland, California. And pretty fun project. Renee, if you happen to be on the seminar today, maybe you could give us a secret to your success with your project. Renee.
Hey, hey, familiar people. How's it going?
Yeah, congrats. Tell us about your approach here.
So I did the CAD work on the countertop a lot differently than you did, and kind of chiming in on using CAD reference lines. I drew out the 50 1/4 inch straight line, and then I drew 2 offset lines from there so that I could quickly reflect about object with a copy paste once I had the arc set in place. And I mean, that was a big time saver, was being able to get all 4 arcs done in I don't know, 15 seconds or something like that.
Wow.
The whole video is on, I posted my process on YouTube, so it's up on my YouTube channel.
Okay, a Chief Challenger.
Yeah, I think it came in like 4 minutes or something like that.
Oh
yeah,
my gosh, yeah, 4 minutes. Wow.
But fun, a lot of fun.
Yeah, well, congratulations. That's unbelievable. You did that in 4 minutes. and it looks really, really great. Thanks for the submission.
Yeah, I liked your tip about the alt to get your vector camera. Alt click your camera. Good tip. Yeah.
Yeah, you can define those alternate behaviors, and just by using your right mouse button instead of your left mouse button, it will use that alternate behavior. It's available for a few things. Cameras is one. But Renee, what we're going to do is we're going to put in the mail for you the Chief Gear Kit. What you'll get is not only a Chief Gear Kit, but it's our company 30-year anniversary. So we have the 30-year anniversary Yeti mug, the official Chief cap, and builder pistol, and then playing cards. We'll get that out in the mail to you. So congrats and thanks a lot for participating.
I was in it for that Yeti mug. You're going to see that in my videos now.
Yeah, nice. Nice. Well, congrats and thanks a lot.
Cheers.
So we've got 2 more challenges left, and we'll be doing the she shed next week. A little bit different approach with a Claire Story style roof and some gable style windows, and kind of a fun little project. We'll follow that up with the doghouse, and that will be our last chief challenge for the fall here. A couple things that we have coming up as well. We are doing a virtual training for our residential intermediate, and we're also doing a virtual training for kitchen and baths and interiors. Those will start on October 26th. Those are 4-hour sessions. They're online. Do it at your office or your house. A couple of, if you're newer to the program, want to refresh on skills, maybe you didn't draw that island in 4 minutes like Renee did. Couple of sessions we have coming up. These are free, couple-hour sessions. October 21st for kitchen and bath, and then October 28th for the residential boot camp. Chief Architect is going to be attending the International Builder Show and Kitchen and Bath Show. That's the end of January, 1st of February. We're going to be doing physical classroom trainings immediately following the show. So if you're interested in taking advantage of that, you can sign up on the website. So with that, we will see you next week at the same place, same time for the She Shed Chief Challenge. Hope you had fun and hope you participate. We'll see you back here next Thursday, same place, same time.